Hey guys, welcome to today's episode. I am Chellarie Mendoza, and right now you are listening to the Yapper Chella. Welcome back to today's episode. Right now, I'm just chilling inside my car, so if you hear a little background hum, that's just my engine. So it's nothing fancy, don't worry about it. And before anything else, before I proceed, can you just say a little hi to my little friend back here? This is Dino. I thought this would be a fun spot to chat with you about something that I recently learned about and actually reported on during my Plant Taxonomy class. And we are gonna talk about bryophytes. Full honesty, guys, I learned a lot in this subject. I learned a lot in my FBS 167 Plant Taxonomy class, but I chose bryophytes because honestly, they surprised me, y'all. And you are gonna be surprised once you leave this episode. When I first heard the word bryophytes, I thought, mosses, right? It's just mosses. I didn't think much of it. I didn't think much of my topic. But the more I studied and prepared for my report, the more I realized these tiny little plants are actually kind of amazing. Seriously, because you should not underestimate moss. They may be small, but there's a lot of going on. So let's get to the main point. What are bryophytes exactly? The word bryophytes comes from Greek, which is bryon, and bryon means moss or liverwort, and phyton means plant. So literally, when you combine them, bryon plus phyton, it means moss plant. Does it make sense? I hope it makes sense. And they are non-vascular, guys, which just means that they don't have xylem or phloem. Now, xylem and phloem, they are tubes that the other plants use to move water and nutrients. And because of that, they stay small, and bryophytes really need water to survive and reproduce. Some examples are mosses, liverworts, and hornworts. Now, here's what really blew my mind. Unlike most plants, the dominant stage in their life cycle is what we call gametophyte. When we say gametophyte, this is the stage that produces gametes. And when we say gametes, these are sex cells, like literally eggs and sperm. And even though it's haploid, meaning it has only one set of chromosomes instead of two, like most plants, it's actually super smart. It's like the nature's way of saying size isn't everything. Bryophytes have been around for over 430 million years, way before dinosaurs. Let that sink in. It's 430 million years ago. At first, scientists thought that they were completely separate from other plants, but now we know that they share a common ancestor with green algae. And because they are soft and delicate, they rarely fossilize, so researchers study them through comparative morphology. When we say comparative morphology, it's comparing their physical structure to other plants. Researchers also use ontogeny as evidence. It's looking at how they grow and develop, and analogies with other plants wherein they compare or we compare how their structures and functions work. Comparative morphology was one of the coolest parts for me. Why? Because bryophytes are closely related to green algae like Chara and Coleucate, if I'm pronouncing it right. For example, Chara has a UV protection system. It's like a natural sunscreen, just like in other higher plants. And Coleucate actually protects its zygote, the fertilized egg, and this is similar to bryophytes. So they also share pigments, which is used for photosynthesis. That's why the mosses that you find is green, and starch storage, wherein that's how they save energy. I thought, wow, these tiny plants are literally a bridge between water plants and land plants. And how cool is that, right? Ontogeny, on the other hand, is even more fascinating. Their sperm literally swims through water to reach the egg. Imagine a sperm or a tiny plant sperm swimming in raindrops. After fertilization, the sporophytes, or the structure that produces spores, these are tiny cells that can grow into new plants. But these sporophyte can't survive on its own. So it depends on the gametophyte. So honestly, I thought this is kind of a life lesson too, right? Sometimes even in nature, we need support to grow. Well, basically, I'm just saying that the sporophyte needs the gametophyte to survive. Bryophytes also share traits with both algae and vascular plants, making them like a mix of old school algae and modern land plants. Adaptation doesn't mean leaving the past behind, it means using it wisely. There are two main theories about where bryophytes came from. The first is the pteridophyton hypothesis, which suggests that they evolved from early ferns and became simpler over time. The second, which I personally like more, is the algal hypothesis, saying they came straight from green algae, making them the first true land plants. So I love this idea because something so small and simple started such a huge evolutionary journey. Anatomy wise, bryophytes spend most of their life as gametophytes. Even though they're tiny, they have rhizoids. When we say rhizoids, these are root-like structures that help them attach to surfaces and absorb water. They also have waxy cuticle on their leaf-like structure. It's like a protective layer that prevents them from drying out. And they also have pores or stomata for gas exchange. Some bryophytes are flat and leafless. They are called thalloid, while others like mosses, they have leaf-like structures. They don't have true roots or stems, but they thrive perfectly in their environments. Then there are the major groups of bryophytes. First, we have the liverworts. Liverworts love tropical foggy spots and have about 6,000 to 8,000 species. While the second major group is hornworts. Hornworts are tiny with only about 100 species, but they host what we call cyanobacteria. This bacteria can fix nitrogen. Basically, it's their own built-in fertilizer system. And lastly, the biggest group or the largest group is the mosses, the ones that most of us can picture when we hear the word bryophytes, and they have over 9,500 species and cover forest and rocks like soft green carpets. Learning about hornworts especially made me realize that even tiny organisms can solve big problems. Again, hornworts can fix nitrogen, and maybe part of it is kind of inspiring. Aside from that, bryophytes are also super important ecologically and economically. They help form soil, they retain water, and they fix nitrogen. Historically, peat moss is used for fuel, gardening, moss gardens, and even as bioindicators. When we say bioindicators, guys, these are plants that tells us if the environment is clean or polluted. It really made me appreciate that even the smallest quietest things can have huge impact. So yeah, my main takeaway from all of this, life isn't just about being huge or flashy. Sometimes being small, being adaptable, being resilient is just as important. Bryophytes remind me of that. They survive in tough environments and they quietly support their ecosystem. And even though they're easy to overlook, they make big impact. And honestly, there's a lot we can learn from them. Like, sometimes it's okay to take things slow and focus on steady growth rather than rushing to be big or important. Just like bryophytes need water to survive, we also need support and care from our friends, from our family, from our mentors. And even when life feels tiny or is insignificant, the way bryophytes thrive in every little corner of the world reminds me that every small effort counts. Also, their dependence on each other, like the sporophyte depending on the gametophyte, it actually taught me something about relationships. It's okay to lean on others sometimes, and it doesn't make you weak. It's just part of thriving together. And finally, just like bryophytes have been quietly existing for millions of years, sometimes being patient, humble, and consistent can lead to lasting impact. even if no one notices immediately. So next time you see moss on a rock or liverworts on your garden or hornworts somewhere, take a moment to appreciate it. These little plants have been here way, 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 way longer than us, guys. They are quietly thriving, making the world a better place, and honestly, we can take a little inspiration from that in our own lives too. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Thanks for listening to my yapping session right here in my car. I am Chellarie Mendoza, and I hope you leave this episode with a little more love for the tiny wonders of nature, and maybe even a little reminder for yourself that small doesn't mean insignificant. Stay curious, stay patient, and I'll catch you on the next episode.